$20,990. That is now the cheapest brand new car you can buy in Australia, an MG3, and it holds a record nobody wanted. For the first time in modern history, there is no new car in this country with a price starting with a 1. The sub $20,000 new car is extinct. 13 years ago, the cheapest new car in Australia cost $9,990, driveaway. That is not ancient history, that is 2013, and the entry ticket has more than doubled since. And here is the part that makes it worse. The sticker is the cheap bit. The average new car loan in this country has hit $46,000. The average rate is nearly 9% after 3 rate rises this year. The typical repayment is $710 a month, and the corporate regulator just caught lenders charging up to $9,000 in fees on a single $49,000 loan. 10 forces locking ordinary Australians out of the new car market, one by one. And number 1 is a paradox that explains everything this channel has covered all year. Because here is the maddest fact of all. While nobody can afford a new car, Australia just had the best sales month in its history. Both things are true, and by the end of this video, you will understand exactly how. First, the machine. Because your car payment is built from 4 parts, and every single one moved against you at once. The price of the car, the interest rate on your money, the length of your loan, and the fees buried in your paperwork. Any one of those rising makes a car dearer. All 4 rising together is how a nation quietly gets priced out while the showrooms stay full. Here are the 10 forces, counting down to the 1 that ties them all together. Number 10, the death of the small car. The Kia Picanto and the MG3 are nearly the last of their kind, and the shelf behind them is almost bare. In 2019, there were 19 micro and light cars on sale in Australia for you to choose from. Today, there are 6. Since 2016, the country has gone from more than 40 new small car options under $30,000 in today's money to about 10 and falling. The cheap car did not die because Australians stopped wanting cheap cars. It died because car makers make thin margins on small cars and fat margins on SUVs, and one by one they walked away from the bottom of the market. Every departure removed a rung from the ladder, and the ladder now starts a full story higher than it did a decade ago. Your first car, or your kid's first car, used to be a brand new light hatch with a warranty. That option is now a museum piece, and the buyers who relied on it got pushed into the used market, where they promptly ran into everybody else who had been pushed there too. And you can test this against your own history in one question. What was the first brand new car anyone in your family ever bought? And could that same person, on the same kind of wage, buy its equivalent new today? For most households, the honest answer has changed inside a generation, and you did not imagine it. Number 9. The brands that abandoned the bottom. Ford's cheapest passenger vehicle in Australia is a $58,990 Everest, and that sentence deserves a moment of silence. The company that put Australia on wheels, the Falcon Company, the Festiva and Fiesta and Focus Company, no longer sells a single affordable passenger car here. The Fiesta is gone, the Focus is gone, the Puma is gone. What remains is a ute and a family of big SUVs. Ford is the loudest example, but the pattern runs everywhere. The established brands looked at their spreadsheets, saw where the margin lived, and retreated uphill. Small cars became SUVs, SUVs became bigger SUVs, and base models quietly vanished from price lists. The result is a market that serves the top of the ladder beautifully and tells everyone else to buy used or stretch. And when an entire industry retreats uphill at once, stretching is exactly what Australians did, which is where the finance entries on this list pick up the story. Because notice what happened to you as a customer in that retreat. Nobody asked you. The brands you grew up trusting decided, in boardrooms, that your end of the market was not worth serving, and your loyalty was expected to climb the price ladder with them. Some of you did. The rest of you are the reason a Chinese badge now sits where your Festiva used to. Number 8. The price creep on the survivors. The Kia Stonic just went up by more than $3,000 in a single model update, and the cars that stayed cheap are not staying cheap. The handful of survivors at the affordable end are drifting upward with every facelift. The Yaris and the Mazda 2 have both taken serious price rises, and each bump quietly redraws the definition of entry level. None of these rises came with a matching leap in what the car is. They are the same size, same job, same badge. What changed is the competitive pressure. Because when the cheap end of the market empties out, the last players standing can charge more for showing up. Watch the mechanism, because it is the same one from the trade-in video. Every price rise at the bottom drags the used market up beneath it. So the buyer priced out of the new Stonic bids up the used one, and the person under them bids up whatever sits below that. A $3,000 rise at the bottom of the new market taxes people who will never buy a new car at all. Number 7. The $9,000 handshake. The fees are the part of the loan nobody reads, and the corporate regulator just showed why you should. In its June review, the regulator found establishment fees running as high as $9,000 on a $49,000 loan. $9,000, nearly a fifth of the amount borrowed, charged for the privilege of setting up the debt. That is the extreme, but the pattern is everywhere. Establishment fees, monthly account fees, dealer origination margins, add-on insurance folded in. The advertised rate on the windscreen is the bait. The comparison rate, the one the law forces them to publish, is the real number. And the gap between the two is where the profit hides. The defense is one sentence long. Never judge a car loan by its advertised rate, only by its comparison rate. Because that is the figure with the fees baked in. The bloke who knows that one sentence pays thousands less for the same car than the bloke who does not. And the industry is counting on most people not knowing it. And if you have ever signed loan papers at a dealership desk at 7 in the evening with a toddler melting down beside you, you know exactly why the system works. The fees are not hidden from you. They are disclosed, in writing, at the precise moment you are least equipped to read them. That is not an accident of scheduling. That is the business model. If this is joining dots for you, do 2 quick things. Tap like and subscribe. This channel runs on putting the industry's own numbers in front of the people paying them, and the algorithm only keeps delivering these if you tell it to. Right, back to the countdown, and from here the machine starts eating years of your life. Number 6. The rate squeeze. Nearly 9% is the average interest rate Australians are actually paying on car loans right now, and the direction of travel has been wrong all year. The Reserve Bank lifted rates in February, March and May, and car finance followed within weeks. A prime borrower with clean credit and a house can still find 7.5. Everyone else drifts toward 9, and a borrower with a dented credit file can face 15% or worse. Run one number to feel it in your own budget. On a $46,000 loan over 5 years, the difference between 6.5% and 9.5% is thousands of dollars in extra interest for the identical car. The rate is invisible on the windscreen, and for you, it is often the difference between a fair deal and a 5-year mistake. And the cruelty is that the rate lands hardest on the people with the least room. The young, the casual workers, anyone rebuilding after a rough patch. They pay the highest rates on the same cars, which means the Australians least able to afford the squeeze are the ones squeezed hardest. That is not a conspiracy. It is how credit pricing works. But you should know whose shoulders the system leans on. Number 5. The 7-year loan goes normal. The 7-year car loan used to be exotic, and it is now sitting in the standard options list at most lenders. Terms of 3 to 7 years are the published norm, and the long end keeps getting more popular for one simple reason. It is the only lever left that makes the monthly number fit. The price rose, the rate rose, the fees rose, so the term stretched, because $710 a month is what the average borrower can carry, and the only way to hold the payment there on a bigger, dearer loan is to spread it across more years. Understand what the stretch actually buys: more total interest, years of extra exposure, and a loan that regularly outlives the best years of the car. Plenty of Australians are now making payments on the same vehicle across 7 years of their life, through job changes, kids, rate rises, and by the back half of that loan, the car is aging faster than the debt is shrinking. The monthly number looks kinder, the total cost is crueler. That trade is the quiet story of the modern car market. Run your own 7-year test before you sign one. Where were you 7 years ago, and how much of your life looks the same now? That is, how much can change while a single car loan is still running? If the answer makes you uneasy, your instincts are working, and they are telling you the same thing the interest maths does. Number 4. The stress ledger. 15% of Australians name their car or personal loan as the single most stressful debt they carry, ahead of everything else they owe, and among the youngest borrowers, it is 21%, 1 in 5. Those numbers come from the finance industry's own surveying, and the face they put on everything above this entry might be yours. Meanwhile, the borrowing keeps climbing. Australians are now taking on around $4.9 billion in vehicle loans every quarter, an all-time record, growing steadily for 3 straight years. Record debt, record stress, record repayments, all for the machine in the driveway. Sit those two facts next to each other and the picture is complete. The car did not become optional. This country is built so that most people need one to work, and so the cost got carried anyway, into longer loans and tighter households. When a fifth of young Australians call their car the most stressful thing they owe, the affordability story stops being about cars and starts being about how people are living. That is why this video exists. Number 3. The trade-in trap. The negative equity story from the last video is the third jaw of this vice, and if you missed it, the short version matters here. Values on late model cars have corrected hard, trade-in offers are landing under loan payouts, and owners who bought at the peak are discovering the deposit for their next car, the equity in their current one, has evaporated. That matters for affordability because the trade-in is how ordinary Australians have always climbed into the next car. Equity from the old one becomes the deposit on the new one. The loan covers the gap. The ladder works. Take away the equity and the ladder loses its rungs. The buyer either borrows more, over longer, at the same ugly rates, or stays put. And staying put is exactly what the data shows people doing. You have probably done it yourself. Holding cars longer, deferring the upgrade, keeping the old one alive. Sensible for each household and quietly transformative for the whole market. Because a country that stops trading up is a country where the new car becomes something other people buy, which is precisely where number 1 is heading. Number 2, the used market black hole. The affordable used car is about to get scarcer, and the industry has already named the problem. Every cheap new car that vanished from the price lists over the last decade is a used car you will not find in the next one. The motoring press is openly calling it a coming affordable used car black hole, and you can do the arithmetic yourself. Fewer cheap cars sold new between 2016 and now means fewer cheap cars aging into the second-hand market between now and 2030. So the pressure release valve that caught everyone priced out of the new market is itself shrinking. The buyers pushed out of showrooms land in a used market with contracting supply at the affordable end. And contracting supply with steady demand does one thing to prices. If you're advising a young person on their first car, this entry is the one to remember. The cheap, honest used hatch is not getting cheaper from here. The fleet of them is literally thinning, and the affordable end of Australian motoring is narrowing from both directions at once, new and used, at the same time. Number 1. The paradox. Australia just had the best new car sales month in its history, and that is the fact that makes sense of everything else on this list. 108,577 vehicles in a single July, an all-time record in the middle of everything you just heard. If nobody you know can afford a new car, who is buying them? 3 buyers, and none of them is you, the traditional Australian family saving up for a Falcon. Business and fleet money, riding tax settings and write-offs that private buyers do not get. Salary packaged leases riding their own tax breaks, which is where a huge slice of the electric boom lives. And the value wave, the Cherries and the MGs and the BYDs, hoovering up the buyers the established brands priced out. The Tiggo 4 alone found 20,000 Australian buyers in its first full year, and it did it at the exact price point the old guard abandoned. So the great Australian new car did not die. It changed hands and it changed nationality. The affordable end of the market was not destroyed, it was surrendered, and the Chinese brands picked it up exactly where Ford and the rest put it down. Every video on this channel this year, the takeover, the fight back, the dying badges, the trade-in collapse, they are all chapters of this one story. The market did not collapse. It split into people the system still works for and people it quietly left behind. The record month and the affordability squeeze are not a contradiction. They are the same fact wearing 2 faces. Number 0. The other side of the ledger. 20 minutes of squeeze deserves an honest defense, and there is one. First, the bottom rung has roughly tracked inflation. The cheapest car in the year 2000 was $9,990, which is about 20 grand in today's money, and today's cheapest car is $21,000. The entry price, in real terms, has barely moved over a quarter century. What changed is everything stacked on top of it, and what a base car includes. Second, and it follows, the cheap car you can buy today is not yesterday's cheap car. The $21,000 MG3 carries a touchscreen, active safety, adaptive cruise, and a 7-year warranty. The $9,900 specials of the past were tin boxes that died young and protected nobody. Some of the price is genuinely more car. Third, competition is coming back to the bottom, hard. The Chinese brands re-entered the exact segment the old guard abandoned. The cheapest electric car in the country is now under $28,000 driveaway, and every new arrival drags the entry point down. The market is correcting the abandonment in real time. And fourth, rates are a cycle, not a life sentence. Green loans already run cheaper. Prime borrowers can still find 7s, and the same central bank that lifted 3 times can cut. The squeeze is real, and it is also not permanent. So what do you actually do? 5 moves. 1. Judge every loan by its comparison rate only, never the advertised rate. That single habit is worth thousands, and it defeats the $9,000 handshake on the spot. 2. Get your finance pre-approved from a bank or broker before you walk into a dealership, so the dealer's finance desk has to beat a real offer instead of writing on a blank page. 3. Take the shortest term you can genuinely carry, not the longest one they will offer you. If the payment only works over 7 years, the honest reading is that the car is too dear, and the market is full of alternatives now. 4. Price the whole car, not the sticker. Insurance, the rate, the fees, the fuel or the charging, the resale from the last video. A cheaper car on a worse loan is regularly the dearest thing on the street. 5. And if the new numbers simply do not work, buy the best used car the black hole has not swallowed yet and keep it alive. There is no shame in it. Half the country is already doing it, and the mechanics that keep those cars going are the next boom industry in Australia. Before you go, the ledger. confirmed by the industry's own data. The extinct sub-$20,000 new car and the $20,990 entry point. The collapse from more than 40 affordable small cars to about 10. The $46,000 average new car loan, the near 9% average rate, the $710 repayment, the $4.9 billion a quarter in record borrowing, the regulator's $9,000 fee finding, the record 108,000 vehicle July, reported but not settled, exactly how the record month splits between private, fleet, and lease buyers. The industry publishes totals, not motives, and my three-buyer explanation is the standard industry read, not a census. Still developing. Where rates go next, how far the Chinese value wave drags the entry price down, and whether the used car black hole arrives as hard as the arithmetic suggests. Watch this space, because this story sets up everything else in the market. Now, your turn, and make this one count. What did your first new car cost? What year was it? And what would the equivalent cost you today? Those three numbers, thousands of times over in one comment section, will tell the affordability story better than any institute ever could. And if you have never been able to buy new, say that too, because that is the story now. And after all this doom about money, next time we go the other way, the engines that refuse to die. The legendary Australian engines that run forever. The Barra, the old diesels, the bulletproof sixes, why they will not quit, and why the industry stopped building them. That is the next video, so subscribe now so you do not miss it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in that one.